All right, it's time to have some fun with Cain and Abel. There's a lot of discussion about these brothers going on. What is the point of this story? What's the message? Is it just that Cain is a big meanie pants? Don't be like him. He's of the evil one, 1 John 3. And Abel lives by faith and he's the good guy, and that's that? Is it just a lesson in morality? Is it something else? You wouldn't believe how much is in the Hebrew of this narrative that is screaming to us what Cain and Abel are all about for the church of all times and places. That's what we're going to learn in this video. Hang tight. It has to do with what's highlighted in the text there. So first things first, notice what Eve says after she bears Cain. I have gotten a man. And then it's hard to translate the second half of that, something like with the help of Yahweh, or perhaps she even believed that this was the Lord. Long story there, and I'll show you where to go if you want to learn more about that. But I've gotten a man. Who says that about a newborn? Why doesn't she use the word yeled, for example, child? I've gotten a child. Or why doesn't she say the word bane, son, in Hebrew, which is exactly what's used later on in this same chapter for Seth. Adam again knew his wife, and she bore a son, and that's what you say when you have a baby. That's in chapter 4, verse 25, the same chapter. But this term man, ish, is very interesting, and first thing here, that's used quite a bit of Adam in the previous chapter. Okay, so interesting, but maybe just a generic term. Well, keep going. Cain is also described as a worker of the ground. Okay, now does that sound familiar? That's the exact expression that was used of Adam no less than 3 times in previous chapters of Genesis. Adam is a worker of the ground, worker of the ground, worker of the ground. Notice what Cain brings forth. He brings forth an offering from the fruit of the ground, which is also really interesting because the sin of Adam and Eve involved eating fruit. Okay, so that was mentioned also in the previous chapter. And then notice what else happens here, and those of you familiar with it, there's a lot of questions. After the thing is that, why are you angry? Why is your face fallen? Is it not that if you do well, there will be a lifting up? This is my translation of this narrative here. Okay, now that's a series of questions. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly what the Lord did with Adam also. He asked a series of questions of Cain here, but also of Adam earlier. Where are you? And that's even the exact Hebrew term, where. Where is Abel your brother? Adam, where are you? In both passages, we also have cursing. Okay, so now cursed are you from the ground, and there's cursing, of course, in the fall and sin in chapter 3. We also have this talk of hearing a sound. We also have this talk of desire. You can see that there. Teshukah, it's desire is against you. Well, that was desire. We had that desire also with Eve in the previous chapter. We also had this word of ruling. He will rule over you in chapter 3, but now we have it here with the Cain and Abel. You must rule over it, that is, rule over the sin. We also have, at the end there, you'll see the language of driving out. Garash, drive out. You've driven me today. Well, that's exactly what the Lord did to Adam. What does all this mean? Well, first things first, at some foundational level, we are supposed to associate Cain with Adam. Something is transcending the generations here. Or you might even say more than one generation is participating in the same something. Cain is like an extension of fallen Adam. We are seeing something of Adam all over again. It's in Cain. This is one way to live moving forward, like fallen Adam. Now, with that said, what does that mean for Abel? Well, as you can tell, you look at the text, Abel is totally different. First and most obvious is that, Eve says something after I've gotten a man with the help of Yahweh, however you want to translate that. I've gotten a man, the Lord. This one is the Lord. And yet, with Abel, it's nothing. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't give this big party, balloons and cake and all of that. It's as if Abel, whose name, by the way, means breath, we'll talk more about that later, the meaning of his name, is not even worth the breath it would take to say his name. And some have even said that Abel isn't even a proper name. It's more of just what it means, a title to tell you something about him. You can look also about what that narrative does when we're introduced to him. We get his brother before we even get his name. Again, she bore his brother. So Abel is defined as being a brother, which is also the case. It's like the most primary role here. This is the brother Abel. And that's exactly what the New Testament does in 1 John 3. Don't be of the Cain, who is of the evil one who murdered his brother. 1 John 3, verses 11 and following, just talks about Abel as his brother. It doesn't even use Abel's proper name. It just says his brother, his brother, his brother all over the place, not once using Abel's proper name. So you see that in the New Testament as well. And then finally is the meaning of these names. Cain means I've gotten, I've acquired. That's what Eve names Cain the way she does, because I've got him. This is Cain. I've got him. I've acquired him. This is the one. And again, Luther and many others think I've got the Messiah. Here it is. I've got the Lord. So that's that. But then with Abel, his name it means vanity or breath or mist. It's the same word from which we get that vanity of vanities in Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Abel of Abels, all is Abel. That is, you're here for a few years and then someone kills you. Okay? So we have this big contrast between these two brothers, all the way down to the names, which are important. Everybody in Genesis, what do these names mean? We were just told what Eve's name, Eve, I'll name you Eve because that means life. And so everybody's geared up for Adam means man and all of this. So we're geared up to think about the name meanings as well. And if that's the case, what does this all mean? What this means is that Abel is like the antithesis to Cain. Even if we don't know what all this shepherding thing is about yet, which we'll learn about more in the rest of Genesis, or this firstborn stuff, which is kind of big in Exodus, or this fat stuff, which is kind of big in Leviticus. The thing is, there's a different kind of approach. There's a different kind of offering. There's a better approach to the Lord post-Eden than the way of fallen Adam, than the way of Cain. You can even see that in the book of Jude, the way of Cain. There's a way there. Cain shows us one way. Abel shows us another way. There's a better way post-fall, post-Eden, even if that way leads to death. That's the better way. Abel's on it because Abel is the essence of what clinging to the seed of Eve looks like moving forward. And that's why Abel looks the way he does and has what he has. Abel is in the early chapters of Genesis, and yet look at what he has. He has in his possession the stuff of Exodus, that is firstborn. It's big in Exodus. He has fat portions, which is big in Leviticus. And he has a mincha, an offering, which is huge in Numbers. So you see what he has? Like Abel's in Genesis, and yet he's got this stuff from Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, on down the line. You see, you could say Abel is a man ahead of his times. Abel is showing us an inner disposition that will be favored across the ages to come. And I think that's also why you can see, if you count up the name Abel, how many times does Abel occur in this? His name occurs 7 times. Okay. And he's a brother 7 times. Why is this kind of stuff? Well, that's because there are only 2 ways. There's only 2 ways, and only one of them rests completely in the Lord's greater 7th day, you could say, with all these 7s. And so at the end of the day, we see in Cain and Abel, you could say 2 different ways, 2 different approaches to the Lord after Eden, 2 different churches. And with that, we see why this matters today. There is no third church. There is no neutral church. There are only 2 churches. There is the church of Abel, and there is the church of Cain. And everyone on this planet is involved in one of those 2 churches. Those are the 2 paths for all times and places. And this narrative shows us what it's all about and the outcome of each. For more on that, check out this video. and you can hear more on Genesis chapter 4. There's a lot more in the Hebrew, a lot more fun. Do me a favor and subscribe, like, comment, help me keep going. Until next time, God's blessings to you all.